Hi, I'm Chris Kubiak. I'm the regional coordinator for the mate competition for New England, and I'm also an ocean engineer.
Okay.
Jesse DeRozier, mechanical engineer, Lockheed Martin.
I'm okay.
Okay. Okay. So, could you tell me a little bit about things that are common pitfalls when people are designing for this project?
Absolutely. Well, you had mentioned that you're using a Cat 5 cable. The bilge pumps need a lot of current, so the gauge may not be thick enough on the Cat 5. I mean, you want to see what kind of wire came off of the pump when you got it, and you want it to be at least that thick.
So this is the wire that comes off of the pump right here.
Looks like Cat 5.
This is not the Cat 5. So you want it to be at least as thick as this.
Yeah, and usually for the bilge pump wiring, I mean, a lot of them are beefier than that. So a little beefier cable. It never hurts to have a beefier cable.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you don't want it to be too heavy. You don't want it to be so that it starts sinking it. But putting a little extra gauge in there is a little bit of an insurance against, it overheating, excessive resistance, that kind of thing.
So how would you recommend getting the current down to the vehicle?
I mean, you have your waterproof tether. That's part of your design.
Right now we have this for our waterproof tether. And so what could we do either instead of or in addition to this that would help us get there?
Thicker gauge wire. I mean, if you're going to use thicker gauge wire for your pumps, you have to use a thicker gauge wire on the whole tether.
Okay. So lamp cord, or what about taking the conductors that are in here and using several conductors for one instead of?
Yeah, you can bundle them together. I mean, a lot of people use, I've seen people use stereo wire, that kind of thing. It's usually encased in plastic, so it's relatively waterproof. We're not going to tremendously deep depths, so you can usually get away with it. Make sure your ends are potted well so that they're waterproof. You don't want the water to get in there. Same thing with the bilge pumps. Just pay attention. You're going to be in 12 feet of water. Bilge pumps aren't really designed to be in water that deep.
Okay.
So there's a difference between waterproof and pressure rated.
Okay.
And people have successfully used bilge pumps in the past. Sometimes they just use them straight out of the box. Yep. Sometimes they've put a little more waterproofing on them.
Okay.
If you get a chance, if you have access to a swimming pool, send it to the bottom of the swimming pool and see if it works.
Okay.
That's as far as the motors go. One of the most common pitfalls people run into is in their flotation.
Say that again, please.
Is in flotation.
Okay.
Usually, popular type of flotation is closed cell foam. And what happens is, it actually happened to me on a project I was working on with a vehicle I was building. When you send it down into the water, the gas in the foam compresses, making the foam smaller and less buoyant. So it does not float as much. Now, since these pumps don't deliver a lot of thrust, people usually design the vehicle to be pretty neutrally buoyant. So it doesn't float a lot. And a lot of times, and it's, like I said, it happened to me on a vehicle I was designing, we had to replace the flotation. It'll go to the bottom and just stay there. So you want to test it at the bottom of the pool to make sure you have enough flotation. If that's what you want to do, to have it, positively buoyant, it has enough flotation to float yourself back up again. The other thing that I recommend, obviously, and you want to make sure your stuff is waterproof. Shorts, things like that, you want to make sure everything's sealed. That's a common thing. What happens a lot of times is one of the engines will short out, and then you now have to drive and try and control with one less controlling engine than you thought you had. So redundancy
and also
and if you can
making sure that it's definitely
the other thing is, at all possible, practice. If you have someone who's designated to drive the vehicle, you want someone who's going to be your driver to practice driving the vehicle. It's very hard to get these motors to balance perfectly. So the vehicle is going to want to go to side and just not be even. You want to have somebody who knows how it responds. And look at it when it's in the water. Because remember, during the competition, if you're driving it, you cannot see the vehicle. And your friends can't tell you where it is either. So you're driving just by the cameras.
Okay. And so how do you recommend getting it so that you can tell where you are in the pool through the video camera? Any orientation tools?
People, you want to have the things, you need to have more than one camera. I've never seen anyone do well with just one camera.
Oh, really?
Normally you'll have one focused on your work area. If you have a claw or something, or you're driving your vehicle to something, You'll kind of be looking out front. And then you'll have one, and then you want to have ones that you basically use for navigating, that are kind of maybe looking up and off to the side, that sort of allow you to look around, because you can't really look around. You can spin the vehicle, but that's not the best way. Multiple cameras tend to do better.
Okay.
Because you can see more.
Okay.
The other thing, and this is somewhat related, I've been telling all the teams this, in a week and a half you have a report due. The report has a very specific format given in the instructions. Follow the instructions. We have 24 teams registered this year, so we're grading 24 reports. The judges have a checklist looking for each section. Is the section there? Is it good? Is it not so good? How do you rate it? If the section's not there, you get no points.
Oh, okay. So at least have a section there.
Yeah, have something. And you're, like I said, and you can get a lot of points for the report. Same thing with the poster and the presentation. If you can do well on that, because it's always unpredictable what happens in the tank. I've seen very good designs go in the tank, and something happens, and they don't do very well in the tank or in the pool. You want to get as many points as you can, right? I've never seen anybody win by having a good report and doing bad in the tank, but I have seen people lose by doing well in the tank and having a lousy report. So, and the report and the presentation are things you have control over. So, I've been telling everybody this, and I recommend that you make sure your report is as complete as possible and that your presentation is good.
Okay.
If you have any questions?
That sounds pretty good. Jesse, what have you got that you can add to it?
It's the first time I've done this, so
okay.
I'm kind of just listening to Chris this time.
Okay. So you work for Lockheed Martin.
Yep.
And tell me a little bit about what you do.
I was a mechanical engineer, now I'm more of a manager, dealing with engineering labs and the technicians that we have supporting the labs. That's basically the crux of what I do.
And what do you do, Chris?
I'm a project engineer at the UMass School for Marine Science and Technology. The people I work for are generally physical oceanographers, and they're scientists, but they don't deal a lot with hardware. So I work with a bunch of different types of underwater vehicles, underwater instrumentation. I handle sort of the engineering and technical support aspect of oceanography. A lot of people I work for, they're scientists and they're interested in science in the ocean. I'm much more interested in vehicles and instruments and computers and stuff like that. So we sort of mesh together. You know, they do their half of the project and I do mine.
And so underwater robotics is a halfway decent career?
I like it. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's definitely interesting. It's one of the few job markets that I think is still pretty good.
Yeah.
You know,
I would say so. Yeah. Really.
if you know.
You're still hiring.
You're still doing a lot of research into it.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yep. So it's
Great.
definitely a good field to get into.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right. You're very welcome. I hope that's